Hey everybody, jumping on today. It is the first week of August, and we are going to go on and record episode 135 of the Live Beyond Average podcast here. We're going to get my friend John in the chat room here. He's already in, so let's get him invited. What's up, guys? How are we doing? Thanks for jumping on. John, what's up, man?
Going.
I'm great. How about you?
Oh, little worn out, little weathered.
A little weather. Uh-oh.
Been working on the deck, and that's not going very well. I'm not a carpenter. I'd rather be doing something different.
A man of many trades.
Funny, a jack of all trades and a master of none.
I was waiting for that one. What's the weather like in North Dakota right now?
It's starting to get warm. It's been the last few days have been really nice, kind of almost like fall. Cool in the morning, so it gets you excited about what's coming down the road. But I think we're going to be jumping back up in the 90s, so which for me is good because we're going to be heading to Wyoming and going to be sitting in the old hot box for antelope for 14 hours.
And you guys do that every single year. Like that's like your famous kickoff is you and the family head out west and sweat it out a little bit for some archery antelope.
Yes, we've. I want to say our first antelope hunt we did was probably, oh gosh, we were in Montana in 2006, and I think our first year filming, which is 2003, way back.
Yeah. We lost you here in a second. Hold on. Okay, hold. Sorry, that was my fault.
No, my wife was calling, and I told her I'd be doing this, so I'm sure she's going to bug me.
Okay.
Deck. But 2003, we're out in Wyoming, and we shot our first antelope out there, and we kind of got hooked on it. We've always tried in North Dakota, but we don't have a big population.
Right.
And I can remember time going out west, sleeping in the back of my old Explorer and sitting on a water hole for like 15 hours by myself, and I didn't see a thing.
Wow. Dude, that makes for a long day. It's just 90 degrees.
Yep. Guys asked us, why we do that and why we don't spot and spook. And
nailed it. Losing you here, John. Hold up one second here, guys. We're going to try to get John back rocking from Team UOA up in North Dakota. We're just still with me, John. So we're just trying to get him rocking again. He left. I'll get him joined back in here. Thanks for hanging in with us, guys. We're going to get John back in here from Team UOA. Hold on a second, John. We'll get you back in, and we're going to talk some good hunting. So let's get him rocking, get you re-invited. We'll see if we can establish a good connection here. You're okay, John? This is part of the new age technology you have to deal with, man, is some internet connections once in a while aren't good. So part of the life.
Yeah, sitting in my shop and supposed to have full service, but that's I'd like to own a phone company because you get paid all the time and it works about a quarter of the time.
Right? Yeah. I think in any other job that would be a failing grade.
Exactly.
Okay, so we left off. Last thing I heard kind of was 2003 was your first year. You smacked a goat out west, and you got hooked on it.
Yeah. It was one of those deals. Antelope is one of my favorite, if not my top animal to eat.
Yes.
And I love hunting them because you get to see them all day long. It's not in the morning, in the afternoon. You can hunt them all day long. You can spot and stalk them. You can sit water holes. You can pretty much do anything you want, and you're always seeing them. So that's the one thing. You can be sitting in a blind, and one will stand up in the field 500 yards away and take 3 steps to you, and your heart starts racing, thinking game
Yeah.
on. And then he lays back down, and then you sit for another 6 hours waiting for him.
Yeah, and you're so close but so far away. I mean, but I agree. It's one of those like everybody's hunts type thing. Everybody kind of have an opportunity because there's so many different styles of ways to hunt antelope.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that a lot of guys say, well, that's the old man's game. Well, I'm getting older, but I've enjoyed it even when I was younger. It's
Yeah.
just something that I'm a school teacher. I teach full time,
Okay.
and this is one of the hunts I can go on without burning any vacation because the season opens up August 15th. So then that gives me kind of a free hunt. That's why we try to antelope hunt and bear hunt every year because there are 2 hunts I can go on without taking vacation.
Right. And so how many years have you been doing Team UOA, Ultimate Outdoor Adventures? What year are you guys on this year?
I want to say we're filming number 18.
That's so awesome. And here's the thing that's cool, and I think this is why me and you connect, is because a lot of people don't understand that there's many of us in the industry who work full-time jobs
Yep.
as well, and still do and produce a TV show and do what we're doing what we love to do, as well. It's
Right.
not like we're not just our pockets are lined with money and we're out just doing it. We work a lot of different things and work a very tough schedule to make it all work. And I think that's what you have connected so well.
Yes, and I think a lot of people. I ran into a guy the other day. I was in one of the local running store picking up some fencing material for our ranch, and a guy came up to me and said, "Man, I love your show." He goes, "How do you get to do that?" And I can't believe you guys get to hunt all the time. I wish I did. I said, but I work, full time, 45 hours a week at a real job. Plus we own a ranch and we do that. Plus I live in the country. It's kind of like, it is a lot of irons in the fire. We produce pretty much, I do everything. I produce the show, I edit the show, I do all the advertising. It's all, I've got 2 buddies and they help out when they can, but I've created a monster. So it's a lot of work. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into these TV shows. And I had a guy the other day kind of make a kind of a snide remark about our YouTube page and how many views we get and stuff like that. And I'm 55 years old. YouTube, it's a nice tool, but to me, there's a big difference between being on broadcast TV and starting up a YouTube channel. And I didn't say anything mean to the young man. I just said, you know what? Apologies. I didn't mean to ruffle your feathers, but
Yeah,
I wanted to tell him, when you're on TV for 18 years on broadcast TV, then you can talk to me and talk smack to me.
yeah, and
It's a
that's
lot of work.
people need to realize is that everybody has their own personal goals on what they're trying to do.
Right.
Yeah, and if your personal thing is you want to be on a cable network and that's what you love to do and that's where your focus is at and that's what
Mm-hmm.
works in your company, that's awesome. If like somebody puts together a YouTube channel and grows their channel that way, that's where their focus at. That's awesome. But like, I don't understand the disconnect of like why there has to be like negativity towards each other. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, and part of it is I try to tell people, I said, there's a difference. And I said, I have nothing against YouTube. I think social media has opened up things even for some old guys like us because I'm getting small contracts for doing social media stuff.
Sure.
And again, there's a difference though. And you know what it's like is you're on cable. You have to produce 13 shows and it's in a timely fashion. It's not whenever you want to drop a show on YouTube. And I'm never downplaying guys on YouTube because there's guys that are on YouTube that have, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, which is great. And I always call it, I said, it's the ADHD generation because people want everything at their fingertips and it's fast and furious.
Yep.
And again, we use it, but you know what it's like with YouTube now. Every time I put a YouTube show out there, I get hammered and saying I don't own my music, and it's a battle, and it's starting to get frustrating for me.
Sure.
Because it takes so much time, and then to understand it, which again, I'm a little older than average for the YouTube guy.
Sure.
And it gets to be tough, but again, whatever anybody else wants to do, and I've said that there's we've seen the industry turn with a lot of I would so-called scantily dressed girls catching fish and all kinds of stuff like that, posting pictures. And I know people get down on those guys. And again, I'm glad it's not my daughter doing it. But if it gets a couple teenage kids to watch bass fishing, then so be it. We want more people out there, and at least they're trying to do something, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, whatever. And again, people choose to do things. Hopefully they're choosing to do them for the right reasons. And I think you and we've talked about that in the past. It's the only reason I do this that has nothing to do with being on TV is I just want to hunt and fish, and I couldn't afford to do it.
Yeah. And this enabled you to kind of figure that out and do the
Yeah,
extra. It's
right.
not
It
lining
paid,
up doing it.
yeah, it paid my trips going down the road. And again, there's last year, you know how many animals I killed?
How many?
Take a guess.
I'm gonna go 4.
Okay, try again.
2.
Try again.
1.
Try again.
Did you not kill anything last year?
I didn't kill an animal last year, buddy.
Was that the
Yeah,
first? How many years has it been since you've done that?
it's probably been a while, but it's one of those deals. You get busy with life, with your family. I film my daughter a lot, and I enjoy that more than I do shooting my own animal. I like to
Yeah.
take people on their first hunts. So I was still in on, a dozen kills, but I didn't pull the trigger once. And it really, again, so I didn't kill anything. Did it hurt my ego? Not really. It wasn't one of those deals that I have to kill something. Although I did say this year I'm going to be a little selfish and I'm going to be the first up the bat.
Yep,
You know,
exactly.
yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, so is your daughter going with you antelope hunting this year?
Yes, I'm hoping so. She's been out of college. She went to junior college and got a degree
Okay.
in dental assisting, and
Okay.
now just got accepted to Sheridan College for dental hygiene. So she's a little bit nervous about that, and she's going to be heading out. We're planning on going antelope hunting, and then she'd go straight to college. But
Okay.
we'll see what happens with that. But she joined. She's been hunting with me since she was probably she started when she was 12, shooting deer with her bow, and probably 5 shooting turkeys with me.
So awesome. So
Yeah,
no
yeah,
better partners either, man. I was taking my little girl on a couple turkey hunts with me because it's just easy to take them along and introduce them. She's 5.5 this summer, and I was out training the other day, hitting some hills with a weighted pack, and she was just hanging out at the bottom playing and stuff. And I was on my last 2. And I was going up and was like, Eva, why don't you come up with me? And she hiked the whole thing. It's only like 500 yards to the top, but it's a quick 175 feet elevation.
yep.
And she walked the whole hill backwards while I hiked it with my trekking poles. And I get to the top, I'm like, are you tired? She's like, no. And so we hike back down and get to the bottom. I'm like, all right, well, you're doing this last one with me. And she treks right up, and just hammers it out and goes back down. And I'm like, she's just a little athlete, and she's got good genes. Her mom's athletic genes in her, and she's comes back down to the bottom. I was like, did that make you tired at all? She's like, no. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to have, as these years progress, to have these years of training and working out together and hunting together. Because she definitely is showing an interest in wanting to do it, and I think it's just because I do it, and so that's what she sees. But it was funny because then I go back to the bottom. My wife and I have a little 3.5-year-old boy too, are at the bottom hanging out playing, and I'm like, man, Eva crushed those 2 up downs. I'm like, she just didn't even get tired, and my wife goes, really? Because they were hiking earlier while I was doing the steep stuff. There's some back trails that are just not that hard. And she's like, because she was complaining the whole time she was walking with me. And so I was like, okay, she was just coming with me and she was just showing off, and she doesn't dare show that she's tired, because we've gone on hikes before in the past where she's like, oh, can I ride on your shoulders? And I'm like, no, you need to hike. You need to get some activity in, you need to exercise. I want my kids to be okay with getting uncomfortable and
Right.
not, oh, it's just, I think it's part of parenting. You have to teach your kids to, uncomfortable is okay.
Right.
And so I think it's really cool to see that, because now I'm like, oh, she's figuring out when she's with me, there's this expectation of what her performance is. So I got a kick out of it. It was really cool.
And that's a great thing, because my kids, I have twins, a boy and a girl, Shelby and Colton. And Colton hunted till he was about 10 years old, and it just wasn't his thing. He just was I remember asking him, "You want to go turkey hunting again?" He goes, "I think I'll sit out this year, Dad." We're
Yeah.
sure being, little girls' relationships with your daughter and with the son is just totally different.
Yes.
Shelby was the kid that was sitting at the driveway crying when I would drive away for a
Hmm.
bear hunt. She would come running when she knew I was coming down the gravel road home. She'd come running out to meet me crying. Where my son was like, "Hey, Dad, see you, Dad." You know, just way different. And so what I'm going to tell you is that enjoy every moment you can with them because it goes by so fast. My daughter, it's actually her birthday today, and my sons, they're 23, and it was
Awesome.
other day that they were the ones sitting in the turkey blind fighting while I was trying to call on a turkey, and Dad was getting mad because they were making noise. And you forget that it's about the hunt, it's just about them being out there. And they'll get to be that 12 years, 13 years, they're still daddy's little girl, and then they hit 16 and boys getting there, and then the
Right.
sports getting away, and pretty soon you're not their number one anymore. And I'll tell you, it hits you right in the heart. But they always come back full circle,
Yeah.
and
Thinking about that makes me hurt.
it does. And I'm telling you, be ready for it because there is nothing that crushes you more as a dad is when your kids decide you have to let them, spread
Yeah.
their wings, fly. And it's tough, but again, you do your best to raise them the right way, like you said, with the activity. We grew up in a time that there was no phones and things. So when my kids were getting older, they wanted phones. Dad was pretty cruel. I didn't give them a phone until they needed a phone,
Yep.
and we lived in the country. They were outside all the time. They didn't have any video games, and both of them were exceptional athletes, and they're in great shape. They continue to work out. So you just hope your kids want to do something like that, and you hope they kind of follow in your footsteps. But again, my son's living in New York, the furthest thing that I would ever want, but he's happy
Yeah.
and doing well, so I'm happy for him. And my daughter's sticking around here, so it
Exactly.
is
That's the biggest thing is like having that understanding that they're not here to live our life. You know what I mean? All we can
right,
do is teach them, the proper way of what we believe to be a good human, right?
right.
And great morals and great ethics that hopefully that helps them make proper decisions in the
Yeah.
future.
Well, just trust me, young man, when I tell you this: little kids, little problems; big kids, big problems.
I don't have big problems yet.
No, no matter how good you think your kids are, they're still, if you remember what you were like, and my dad always said, I hope to gosh that you have two kids that are just like you. And I still apologize to my dad's been gone for a while, but I apologize to my mom every time I see her because I'm like, it was not fair what I put you through. And I was a good kid, but
Yeah,
you're out running around, and back then there was no cell phones. So my daughter gets mad at me when I want her to have her app on so I know where she's at if she's taking a road trip.
sure.
Uh, in town is fine. I want you to grow up, be your own person, but just in case something happens, it's hard. It's hard to let go as a parent. But again, that's one of the reasons I love hunting so much is that kind of keeps me tied to her, and she still wants to do those trips with Dad.
That's awesome, man. Especially when you can look forward to that every single year. And I'm already getting selfish and like thinking ahead to the future. My little girl goes to kindergarten in 2 weeks.
Oh wow,
Already thinking about those future years of how active, like you said, they can get in sports. And I'm like, I was a basketball player. My wife was a basketball and volleyball player. The fall sports stuff. And I'm like secretly hoping, I'm like, I hope my kids hate basketball and football and volleyball and they just want to run track as a spring sport all fall. We can hunt together and they can run
yeah,
track spring.
yeah. It's fun. It's like you do and my kids are like, my daughter asked me one time. She goes, Dad, what if I would have been a kid that she's a pretty girl. No, she's a very pretty girl. She goes, what if I would have been not so pretty and not very athletic? And I said, well, I was able to put up with you the way you are now. And I said, I'd have put up with the way you are. I said, your dad's kid, no matter what happens. And I said, who said you were pretty anyway? I said, and I sometimes said, I wish I'd have had a fat, fugly little girl because
Well, you want
I,
to know better because you're going to think the same thing about your own kids anyway.
yeah, that's what the archery trade show this year was the first time she's been there before, but this was her first year there being 21 and was able to go out to bars with me. And
Okay.
it's the worst thing that I've ever had to experience as a father. I never want be in an establishment with that many guys and my daughter. All
Yeah,
the I,
21-year blonde. Forget that.
I had a Army Ranger that was one of my surrogate dads, and I had another ex-military guy that was my BA dad. So I had like four guys watching her. So I mean, anybody got close to her, they just kind of slide over to her and see how she's doing because it was like it was killing dad, killing him.
That's awesome, dude.
Hmm.
Alan, one of the guys in the room right now has been chiming in quite a bit. He has a couple of kids too, and he's like, "Yeah, that's something I can't wait. I can't wait."
It's like it. Every dad goes through it, and like you said, no matter you love your kids, no matter what,
Right,
and you just want them to be happy. And that's why I told people because people are like, I can't believe your son doesn't hunt. Does that disappoint you? And I'm like, absolutely not. He
right.
was a great kid. He was a good athlete. He excelled in school. He wants to do well in business. You can only lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink, and that's all you can do with your kids. Give them good opportunities, raise them right. Have them believe in the things that you believe in, good things, good solid things. And they're going to make mistakes, no different than I made mistakes. You've made mistakes, and you just help them get through those mistakes. And they're their own person, and it doesn't make a difference what they do. If they're digging ditches for a living and they're happy, then so be it.
I agree. And Alan, you're right on your statement down there. Um, and dude, I'm in the middle of that, learning more patience when it comes to that kind of stuff. With having, like, I'm a very much the type of dad, like, I have high expectations for my kids, and not from like performance level from sport, but just like how they behave, how they treat each other, how they
Absolutely.
treat their teachers, how they treat their friends. That's where my high expectation is for them. But then when they do make that mistake, like, that's where right now for me, I'm learning so much patience because I have to learn how to not just be necessarily a yeller disciplinarian, but like a sit down and explain discipline as well. From that sense, and having that knowing with having that expectation of realizing, like, always having the same expectations for ourselves, like understanding, like, okay, hey, remember, Jordan, you're not perfect either. You make mistakes, you're human. And remembering, like, oh yeah, your kids are human too. They're 5 and 3. They're not going to know everything right now. Just reminding myself, because I'm a young parent, I'm still learning all these little things on how to react and how to not let little things get to me. And
It's
just
hard.
kids, they're little kids.
Yeah, it's hard. And I've been a school teacher for 30 years, and I've seen the world change, and we all know where the world's at right now. And the only thing I can tell you is I won't blame the people out there, but I'll blame their family. I'll blame their parents because you are a product of your environment. And if you want good kids, you need to raise them that way.
Yeah.
For example, the other day, I was helping my daughter move, and I had both hands full, and I was walking out a door, and this young man comes in the door and opens the door and lets it slam in my face and walks by me. I
What?
dropped stuff and turned around and grabbed him. And then another young man was sitting up in the room with us and watched my daughter and this other girl pick up the other end of the couch and didn't even offer to pick up the couch. And I was raised the way, it's like be a gentleman. And that's the way I raised my son and my daughter. When I was raised, it was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And it doesn't make a difference what dad says, you do it. You don't ask why. And I teach kids at school, when I say something, I want them to listen. And we're in this predicament we are in this world right now is because people want to question everything. And when a police officer said, put your hands up, and I'm there, I put my hands up. Even if I didn't do anything wrong, that's my job is to listen at
Yeah,
that time.
that's
And I
funny.
yeah,
That's
tell kids you can always argue later. There's a time and a place for stuff. And just use your head, follow through with things like that. But right now, the way we're seeing people get in police officers' face and scream at them, and I have kids at school scream at me, and I'm like, it is not right, and it falls back on the parents. And I will always say that because someone asked me one time, why is that kid doing that? I said, because he's a kid. And if I didn't have a dad that cared about me and made me follow the rules, I would probably be in jail. And I was a good kid, but you're not developed. Your brain's not developed. you're going to do some silly things and some dumb things when you're a kid. That's why we have parents.
Yeah.
And, you
I mean,
know,
and that's the thing is like we're all born into sin. You know
yep,
what I mean? Not born
absolutely
perfect, sin later. You know, it says right in the Bible, we're all born into sin. And so it's one of those things like we don't have perfect ethic and morals born into us.
no.
That have to be taught and those lessons have to be learned. And that as parents and as fathers, like we'll be judged later on in judgment day in front of God on how we raise our kids. And it's important. And that's like when I think about that, that's one of those biggest things where I'm like, that's my most important job.
It
You know,
is.
other stuff, like all of our hunting stuff, everything, we're like, it's awesome. And we can use those as techniques for our kids, but it's like, it's nothing compared to what our full-time job really is.
Right. And there's something out there, I don't know, one of the sayings, and I'll mess it up, but it's something about anybody can be a dad, but it takes a special person to be a father. Just meaning that,
Yes.
the way we're made is anybody can kick out kids, but it's after you have a kid is what kind of father you are and how you raise them in God's eyes and do the job you're supposed to do. And again, none of us are perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. But if you keep those in check and understand that, you learn from your mistakes and then you try not to make them. And I remember how my dad raised me, and I didn't do the exact thing that my dad did. And I still blow up every once in a while, and I wish I
Yep.
would. But I do have a temper. There's no question about it sometimes. And when my kids do things, I get pretty frustrated at times. And
Yep.
again, you got to check yourself and just talk to them. And again, the one good thing is I can say is I blow up, but it's over quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Alan commented, he goes, leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, selflessness, service, honor, integrity, personal courage. We all need to teach this. And I think that's truth, man. As fathers, that's,
oh, and if people, the things that he said there, if the world just did half of them, we
oh
wouldn't
man.
we're in right now. There's nothing in this world that bothers me more than people that slam each other. Um, you know, the way this world is, and everybody blames everybody. They always got their finger pointed at someone, say, "You're the cause of this. You're the cause of that," and they need to take personal responsibility, pull up their own boots, and pick themselves up off the ground, get a job, do the things that they need to do to provide for their family, and do the best they can. And if
Yeah,
you work hard, things come to you. But if you sit back and expect everybody to do everything for you, it's just not going to happen. You have to take care of yourself.
yep. Yep. And that's it takes a lot of self-awareness, to get to that point, and a lot of just that self-awareness when you're sitting on the couch not liking where you're at, not liking your situation. Takes
Mm-hmm.
to pull yourself up because there's nobody there to pull you up. And to
No,
pull up and start climbing that mountain a little bit, and you got to create some positivity, you got to create that momentum that leads to other things in life. But especially when you're into that low situation, there's
yeah,
probably not much because most of the time there's not going to be a support system around you.
no, and you do, and it's like that. I've been at a school for 29 years, 30 years this year at a school, and it's a low income school. It's a tough school, toughest one of the toughest schools in Bismarck.
Okay.
And someone had said something about, you guys, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? I said, I climb that mountain every day. And every day I get kicked off that mountain. I said, but every day I start climbing back up that hill again. I said, you have to. That's just the way life is. It's never easy. It's never said to be easy. Yes, I'll have years that will go by that they're just awesome. And then I'll have curveballs thrown left and right at you. And I mean, it's easy to get depressed
Yeah.
and get down. And that's the one thing I am just happy for is that all I have to do is wake up and see the sun rising, hear the birds chirping, and I'm thinking about, being outside. And that's my saving grace is that just the good Lord has made some beautiful things out there. And I don't get, too hung up on what happens in my life. I try to shrug them off and learn from them and just keep going forward and try to find the positive in life because it's real easy to get down with. I mean, just like I said, look at the world, everything that's going on. It'd be easy just to be bitching about it left and right and
Yep.
but I'm looking at hunting season. I'm looking at my horses. I'm looking at making hay. Do
Well,
whatever makes
po-
you happy.
yeah, and positivity is definitely a choice. you can choose to just be in a bad attitude or whatever. I mean, it really is a choice, in how you treat people. I was lucky. I was raised in a hotel environment with my dad, and so it was, customer service was taught. Um, but as I got into my first job, I was training personal training for a fitness facility, and I got so overworked and just like run down with people where I almost started having that animosity of always being like in a good mood around people. And there was a couple people in that gym that just rubbed me the wrong way. Like they'd come in every day at 4:45, and dude, I like by 4:15 or 4:30, before they were even there, I was already getting in a bad mood, knowing that they'd be coming in,
Yeah.
and they're not my type of people. And I remember just like my parents and my mom, which was always just like, you have to treat everybody like kind, like treat everybody kind, put a smile on your face, and and that's what it is. Like that's what we're taught to do.
Yeah.
And I remember finally one day I was like, I'm sick of feeling the way I feel. Like I'm sick of I'm being negative. Like I'm making myself negative. And that person came, one of the people came out of the bathroom, turned the corner as I was walking down the hall in the gym. And I just smiled and I was like, hey, how are you? And they looked at me like, why in the hell are you talking to me? Like we hate each other. What are you know what I mean? It was one of those looks. And she was like, I'm fine. And did the same thing to the other two guys that I didn't like in there that day. And
Did
it was the biggest monkey off my shoulder, because from then it was like, it's not on me anymore. Like, I'm just going to treat everybody the way I should be treating them. I wasn't treating them correctly. I have no reason to hate them. I just didn't like the personalities, didn't like what they did in the gym, whatever. But that's not my business. It's
yeah.
just not. Like, be nice to everybody. And it changed. It really changed. If I wouldn't have made that change that day, I might not be where I am in my career, because that was all the way back in 2012. And maybe I would have not been as positive throughout this 8-year span if something would have told me to make that change. The Holy Spirit, in your heart, told you to make that change, because you can feel it and it's there. And thankfully, that my parents in my ear, the combination was there to do the right thing. But that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't taught those things, if I wasn't in the right environment. So very lucky, to
Yeah.
have that.
Exactly. And I've said that to many people. I said, you walk down the street with a scowl on your face and watch people move away from you. But there's no one that goes by me, and I can say this. Very seldom does anybody ever walk by me without saying, and I don't say, hey, how's it going? What's up? How you doing? What's up, Pat? I mean, I just you can create so much happiness by just smiling at somebody. And again, I am not perfect by any means, but I try to be positive.
Yes,
And being in the hunting industry and being on YouTube and all these things, you get some people that just hate you. And
of course.
and I'll get emails and I start typing and I'm like, and I'm just like gonna hammer away, and then I stop and I look at it and I just hit delete.
Yeah, dude, done it 100 times.
Delete. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate your comment. Understand where you're coming from. This is where I'm coming from.
Yep,
Next time you're in town, stop by and I'll buy you a beer. And
dude,
it,
that's perfect.
and I was taught a long time ago, you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And if you kill people with kindness, they have no choice but to be nice to you, because they don't know how to act.
Right.
And you learn that. And again, it's not that I, like I said, love everybody. And there's people that like I said, I'd like to choke some days. But again, you just smile at them and go, don't let them get you down.
Oh, and that's the biggest thing, right? Because it can change how you feel and how you are. And that's one of the biggest negatives, obviously, of the social media thing. Is we all know it's so easy for people to just type what they want.
Yep.
I've come to realize, like, when I get those negative comments most of them are on YouTube. I'm lucky I don't get a lot on Instagram or Facebook. I've been really lucky that way. Every once in a while, you run into a small herd of antis, but um, YouTube is, you get
Yeah,
people
they're
that,
just terrible.
yeah, it's easier for them to comment something about your film or whatever. And I've just really come to realize that I don't believe it's not even my film that sets them off. I think
Right.
that they're already in a bad place going into that day. They're frustrated about something else in life, something else is bothering them, and they happen to be watching your film at that time or whatever it is. And it's just easy for them to cherry pick something out of it,
Yep.
type something that just try to, because they're doing it to try to lift themselves up. Like, okay, I'm gonna tear it down, thinking it's gonna help me. What doesn't make you feel better? Tearing people down doesn't make yourself feel better, but they think it's that temporary, you know,
Oh
uh,
yeah,
help them
it
feel
makes
better.
them feel. Yeah, and again, like I said, it is crazy. That's why all my comments I put into the little comment bin, and then I go through them. And if they're negative, I just delete them and block them.
Yep, dude, just
But
swipe.
it's not worth it. It absolutely. And then when you have a daughter, when you first start, and they say things that you wouldn't say to your worst person about killing your daughter and calling her the C word and calling. I mean,
Right,
I was looking for addresses, and I would have been there on their front doorstep.
dude. Especially a dad, like,
Oh, and
oh,
again, just learn that these guys really, that's all they have in life is
right.
to do stuff like that, and it's not worth getting bent out of shape. And I
Yep,
don't affect my life. It's like I said, we are who we are, and some people like our stuff, some don't.
that's okay.
Everybody. That's why there's so many different things out there with YouTube and all that. If you want to follow this guy, follow that guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
dude.
that's what you do.
Like, if they've been following my page and they feel like they need to comment something negative, and my stuff somehow made them feel negative, I don't think it's anything I'm saying personally. I don't put out negative content, but if
No,
what I do doesn't make you feel good about yourself, you should unfollow me.
yeah,
You know,
I've never understood that. I have never, and I can honest 100% equivocally say, never made a negative post to anybody or anything. If
yeah,
I that I don't like about you, I'm going to call you up and talk to you. I mean, and
yeah,
I have conversations with people. We have kids that will ask about being on our team or things like that, and I'll look at their Facebook page and I see drunken, disorderly, kids. And again, they're just being kids. I'll call them up and say, "Hey, I appreciate you that you want to be a part of our team. We really don't have staff members. And, just I'm going to be your dad here for a second. That I looked at your Facebook page, and I can tell you right now that there's no one in the industry that will have you on their team if what they see is what you have on your page." And they'll be like, "Well, that's not who I am." I'm like, "Well, first
that's,
stick, they stick." And
yeah,
the old saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover." I said, there's no such thing. You are judged every day by your cover, and you have to represent yourself well so that people understand that you aren't that bad person. And I guess I've never understood either. And I've had talks with my kids.
sure,
I've seen stuff on their pages, and like I said, 99% of it's been excellent. But every once in a while, I'll see something that I don't agree with, and I'll send them a text. My daughter, someone made a comment to her, and it was negative about hunting, and she gave that little emoji with the finger.
she was
She
she had that day,
got a
dude.
text from me like instantly. I said, "Get it down." I said, "We don't do that. That's not who we are." She goes, "Sorry, Dad." And I said, "I understand you get mad." And I said, "Trust me, I do a lot of flipping off behind doors, but I said, you just don't do it." I said,
Yep.
"It's not who you are." And I said, "It's not going to solve anything."
Well,
So,
and that's the thing, because there's days, like I said, how people happen to comment on your stuff, or when I say your stuff, our stuff, because they're frustrated at something. You can get one of those comments on the wrong day for yourself, where you're in one of those
oh,
places
yeah.
and somebody comments and you're like, you know what, I'm done with it today, and you'll hammer them. You know what I mean? Like, and then you realize, like, I've done it where I've hammered somebody and I didn't press delete, I pressed send, and 15 minutes go by and you're like, that ethics part, that moral part is way too strong in you, and you're like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? Like, it's tough, man. And we're challenged daily. I know I am. I'm challenged
Oh,
daily
I
on
did
stuff.
it. I did it the other day, and I was just joking around because my hats are always on backwards because
Yep.
I wear a lid, so I'm not used to wearing a ball cap like this. And my daughter says, "Dad, you look like a dork." When, when guys have hats like this, it drives me nuts because I'm 55 years old, and so I will tell them, I'm like, "Hey, dude," I said, "if you'd like some help shaping your hat, let me know." And I said it to someone in the industry the other day who I don't know real well, but it was totally a joke, and it really offended him
Sure, sure.
because he hammered back on me kind of on a personal note. And again, I didn't say anything bad. I just said, "I apologize if I offended you because by the comment you made to me, I must have hit a nerve, and I apologize."
Yep, yep.
So a guy, again, that's one thing about email and text. That's why I tell my kids, if you have a problem, you call someone. You don't text them because you can't read, and you can be in that mood, like you said, and it could be a totally innocent comment, but you're in a bad mood and you read it the wrong way, and pretty soon it's like you just started a war.
Exactly, exactly. Or you're not. It's not an innocent comment. You just feel like hammered somebody. I mean, dude, we all have days, man, and it's tough, but just got to go back and try to always do the right thing or apologize if you mess up, whatever it is.
I got to say that when I started following you and met you, just because you're doing the TV show like we are, and I noticed it. I don't think I've ever seen you not have the biggest damn smile on your face every post you put on there. You seem the happiest, go lucky guy in the world. Some days I'm like, dude, is your glass ever half empty? Because mine is. Yours seems half. It's always full. And I said, you got that big smile on your face. I'm like, man.
Dude, I'm lucky, man. I am a see the positives type of guy.
Yep.
Um, and I have been that way most of my life, I think. But man, I tell you what, I took Run to Gun full time last June, so 15 months now I've been full time where I haven't had to work another job. But people don't realize that 8 years before, where I was doing Run to Gun, 7 years before, I've been working a full time job for somebody else and doing
Right.
Run. And I had left the personal training world and went into working for a supplement company on like a franchise support style job. And I learned a ton, but it was such a terrible work environment and poor culture. It was the first time in my work life and just or life in general that I was being around people that didn't want me around them or didn't want positivity around them. Or beforehand, where I was working, whether it be basketball as an athlete or working personal training, you were always with people who wanted to be there for a purpose.
Right.
And then I went to this for 18 months where it was the complete opposite, nothing but negative. And luckily, I had Run to Gun still on the side that was keeping my positivity up, something to work for. But I did not realize how much once I was finally done with that after 18 months, and I thought, okay, cool, it's done. Run to Gun's here. But I really struggled still for another 4 months, 5 months as I was my first 4 or 5 months into just Run to Gun. Even though I was much happier that I finally had gotten to that point, I was
Right.
still fighting stuff internally that was back for the last 18 months that affected me, that I was just like putting under the pillow because, oh, that's not who I am. I'm not negative. I'm not negative. I'm not negative. And I finally had to just like get it all out because I finally got to a point where I'm like, dude, like I'm borderline like depressed a little bit. Like, and then it was affecting my creativity, uh, real positive, putting out real positive content that wasn't fake. It was affecting all those things. And I finally could feel it. You know what I mean? I can feel it in my personal life. And once I finally just like put it out there for myself, like, oh, dude, like, yeah, you do feel this way. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
are like, kind of personally feeling depressed. Like, you need to figure that out. Once I did that, it was way easier to start figuring it out. But it was one of those like cover it up type things for 3 or 4 months. Once I was done with it, it still affected me for quite
Yeah.
some time. I mean, even the positive guys with the smiles on, you know what I mean? We all go through those, like
Oh
you
yeah.
said, good years and bad years,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Life is not easy. I've said that there's two things. I've always said being married is not easy. I've been married 30 years, and it takes work. It takes work every day. And people are like, "Oh, I can't." I'm like, try living with your best friend just for 1 year in college, and pretty soon you guys want to punch each other. And I said it's no different with a wife. I said it takes two people. I said you have to each have part of your life, and then you have a life together. I
Yes,
firmly believe that you each need to have hobbies and things that you like to do,
agreed.
so that you have your time away, but you have your time together. And this is the strong part that molds you together. And yes, you're going to have days. If I had a nickel for every time my wife said she wanted to divorce me, I'd be a rich man. We're both fireballs, but we love each other to death, and you work
Exactly.
through it. It's
Exactly.
so easy to quit things in today's world. And you talk about jobs. I tell kids, and I told my kids, I said, you need to find a job that makes you happy. I said, I'm a school teacher and I don't get paid a lot. I've been doing this 30 years and my income is barely over $60,000. But you know what? I've been happy all 30 years doing it. I love kids. I love work when I work special ed. And, the good Lord gave me, I guess, a few extra feelings inside of my heart that it
Mhm.
twists and turns for those kids. And it's not always easy, but most of the time, no matter how depressed I get, all I got to do is go to school and get a high five from a kid or a hug from a little kid, and it changes my day. And
Yes.
if you have a job that you're miserable in, life is way too short, and it goes by fast. And if you're miserable with your job, you're going to be miserable at your home life, and it's just going to snowball. So
Yep.
find something that makes you happy, and it doesn't have to be $100,000. Money
Yep.
does not buy happiness. There's no if, ands, or but about that. You can make $30,000 and be happier than the guy making $2 million.
Oh, dude, when I left what I was doing for that 18 months, I made 40% of what I was making those 18 months, but my happiness went up 300%. You know what I mean? It was no trade off.
Yeah, it makes a world of difference. And what people today we struggle with is living in our means. And
Correct.
most of us are have way too much of everything.
Yep.
And we're selfish and things like that. So you just got to cut back on things. And some years are better than others. My wife and I go to Mexico. We don't go to Florida. We have our little stay vacation at home or whatever you want to call it. We work on our house.
Yep.
We 30 years ago, and now we have a beautiful place, and we love our yard and do that kind of thing. We don't travel, but to each his own. And again. The old thing is trying to keep up with the Johnsons. Well, I don't care about the Johnsons. They don't pay my bills. I don't pay theirs. And we
Yep.
try to take care of ourselves and take care of our family. And I've always said I'm 55 and I hope I have 40 more years. But if the good Lord took me right now, I've had a great life. I mean, I
Yep.
don't have any complaints about it. There's not been anything that I would change. The only thing I've ever said is I wish that I would get maybe 5 more days vacation as a school teacher because I don't get to go on elk hunts like I would like to.
It's a
Usually
good
a
help right there.
4-day elk hunt. I've tried to make my principal's deal. I will work all summer for free for his
Right?
vacation, so that's my only complaint.
Yeah, dude, I tell you what, that would be my biggest struggle, I think, with that is dude, I've gotten really addicted to elk hunting in the last
Oh,
years, man. I've been lucky to be able to do several elk hunts, drawn several tags, and man, like I'm addicted. I'm gone in 2 weeks, man. I'm going elk hunting in 2 weeks. I can't wait.
I got, yeah, this year, I've killed 2 elk in my life, and I've probably been on half a dozen elk hunts, but I've been on
Nice.
the one I took when I was a kid, I was 20 some years old, my brother. I actually took, the 7-day hunt, and we had a great hunt back on horseback. But the
Awesome.
rest of my elk hunts have been run and gun, buddy. I
Yep.
mean, in 4 days, I got lucky and I killed a giant out in Montana, and I shot in North Dakota once in a lifetime. But that
Nice.
once in a lifetime in North Dakota, I had a kid call me out in the Badlands, and he would call me and send me phone scope pictures of 400-inch bulls.
Oh,
He
man.
goes, "If you can get out here, you can kill it." I said, "Nope." I said, I got to work. And most of the time I was kind of fibbing to him because I finally told him, I said, "I appreciate everything you're doing for me, but I don't want to go kill one." I said, "I want to go hunt one." I said, "If we can see it and on a Wednesday and I can come out Friday and hunt it, I'm for it, but I don't want to drive out." So we went to a
Right.
friend that had a few elk on it, and we spotted one. We didn't get him. The next time we went back out there, we ran into one. My daughter was with. It was a 260, and most guys wouldn't even think about pulling the trigger on a once in a lifetime tag. But it was not about the size elk.
Oh,
I shot it with my daughter filming it for me. She got to carry out a front quarter on her back. We
yes.
could have drove to it, but I said we're going to experience the whole thing.
Yep.
So we quartered it up and we hauled it out on our backs, and she was a part of it. And that 260 meant just as much to me as the 360 I shot with my bow.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
And that's why a lot of, the non-hunters don't quite, they haven't experienced that, what those things mean and what the fellowship with the important people,
it is. So, prime example, a rancher, we hunt on antelope. We used to go down there, and I'd go down there and set up cameras and set up blinds and scouts and do everything. And then it kind of slowly started to change a little bit. and it ended up being where he would tell us where he wanted us to hunt, and it was his place, and I understand that. And then pretty soon he didn't want us coming in August because he wanted his animals to get a chance to breed. He goes, well, you can come in September and shoot one on the weekend. I said, I know I can, but I said I don't want to. I said I enjoy scouting. I enjoy coming down 3 or 4 days early. I said it's more of a vacation for me, and I get to enjoy it with my daughter. I said it is so much more than killing an animal. I want to do the whole package deal. And the older you get, the more you realize that it's not about killing the biggest critter out there.
No, not at all. Not at all, man. That's true. It's true. And then you go, on the opposite standpoint, after you kill or you hunt for so long, you start understanding that it's like, then from an opposite standpoint, you'll start passing up
Oh,
other.
yeah.
You're like, yeah, I'd rather just, I want to, I don't want to shoot that one. I don't want to shoot that one. I kind of want to hold out for one. And if I don't get one, I don't care.
Yep.
So it's funny how you like, you don't care if you shoot a small one, but you also don't care if you don't shoot one at all. And so it's just funny.
It is. And the only thing I'll say on that one is antelope doesn't make a difference to me. I don't care how small it is. If I got 2 days to hunt, I put a 6-inch minimum on it. And
Yeah.
sometimes they can stretch that. But yeah, I've gone many years that I haven't shot one on my place, because I would like to shoot. It's not even it's not the size so much. It is. I feel guilty shooting a young animal anymore. And I'm not the guy that says, I shot this mature buck. Look at this mature buck. This real 8.5-year-old buck. I don't care if people want to shoot. I've said this. If a 160-inch deer with spots came by me and had milk dripping off its lips, I would shoot it because again, I'm an opportunist. It's kind of like the public versus private. Guys are like, well, you hunt private land. I'm like, I'll hunt anywhere I can except the high fence, although I've hunted in Africa. And again, I didn't have any qualms about it, but it is what it is. But I wouldn't go shoot one in a pen. But again, I will hunt public land. I will hunt private land. I love to hunt. I'm not going to be the guy that says I only hunt public land. And I think guys are really stuck on it now.
Here's
And
the, here's the thing. Okay. You only hunt public land, right? Okay. So here's the thing. Did that animal ever leave public land and walk and eat something or bed down on private land? So does that make a private land animal? Or if
yeah,
that private land animal ever walks on a public land and then steps back, like, is it only a public land animal?
I try to tell people. I said it's so funny how people get so hung up in it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like you couldn't kill, and I'm like, I just had some guys that are their claim to fame is public land, and they got to hunt a private ranch, and they didn't kill anything. And I said, if I had a button and I could hit a fence that would pop up around my ranch, it wouldn't help me kill one with my bow any faster,
Sure.
and actually even with my rifle. But
Mhm.
I know they wouldn't leave my place. Do I want to hunt a high fence? No, absolutely not. But it's not what people think it is. It
Right.
takes the same amount. So you have animals on your place. I've hunted public land. The only thing I can say is I hunted opening weekend in Montana, public land, rifle elk hunt, and you can cross that sucker off my bucket list, and it will never, ever happen again. I have never seen so much orange, so many big rednecks, and they didn't give a crap if they came in. We had guys, I kid you not, we climbed up the mountain before anybody. And the sun started rising, the elk were there, and pretty soon it was a sea of red, and guys would camp 50 yards from you and sit right next to you. They
Yep.
didn't know what way the wind was going, and I'm like, if this is what people say is public land hunting, they can have it. I'll figure out something else.
Dude, I've been lucky. I've killed most of all my big animals have came off public. But I never in any of my videos. So if anybody's listening right now that watches all my stuff, you're going to get info right now. But on our show and on our films on YouTube, whatever it is, I don't ever disclose whether I'm hunting private or public because I don't think it should be a topic of conversation for people.
Very
But one of the biggest comments, I always get at least one comment on every single animal I kill, public or private, question mark. And I never even acknowledge it because
no.
I don't say public to make my ego feel better. I know personally, like, oh, cool, dude. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, I shot this bull on public, like, or I shot this big muley on public. Like, that makes me feel good. But I don't need to use it as an ego booster to make myself feel more elite because it was killed on public. Guess my biggest mule deer that I shot, my 190 that I shot a couple years ago, I watched him on private land for 4 days and he finally, I couldn't hunt it. I called the guy 4 times trying to get him to let me hunt. And I sat on this barren, crappy piece of ground on public and prayed that he would at some point come over. And
Yeah.
on the 4th day, he finally made the mistake of corner crossing in, and I shot him.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, I didn't post it. Oh, it was my public
It,
land code. You
it,
know,
it
I
it's
don't,
funny. It's just the industry, and it's a lot of things in the industry, and it creates monsters, and it creates guys that lie, because I know guys firsthand that say they're public land hunters only, and they shoot a lot of things on private land. And I don't care. I don't think, like you said, it should be a. Uh, I think the saying should not be keep it public. It should be keep it hunting.
keep
And
it hunting.
again, I understand the keep it public because we don't want to lose our public land to being sold.
Right.
There's school ground and things like that. And I think a lot of that has to do with the keep it public.
Yep.
North Dakota, South Dakota, we're 96.6% private land. So you wanna wreck hunting for the rest of the world? Start bitching about the landowners, and we're seeing it right now with this lockout. I have a neighbor that owns thousands and thousands and thousands of acres, and his signs all say North Dakota landlocked, because people are so against having the, South Dakota, everything's posted. North
Yep.
Dakota have to post our land,
Yep.
and we own land. Ours is posted. I would continue to post it, and I have no strong feeling whatsoever. People have to understand that it's not going to wreck hunting. It's going to change hunting, and it's going to make you work a little harder. I hunt South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana. They're all no trespass,
Yep.
and there's no shortage of hunters. But again, we get that fight going between public and private, between longbow, crossbow, compound bow, muzzleloader, rifle, and we are our own worst enemies, and we bicker and cause more problems. The anti-hunters can just sit back and laugh at us.
And the only reason those conversations are brought up and argued upon is to make yourself feel more elite than the guy using what you don't agree with he's using, because you use something different. It is
Right.
for the own boosting of your own ego. That is it.
Yeah. It's funny because I've said, and I enjoy social media. If I did not have a hunting show, you wouldn't see
When
anywhere, because I'm not that guy. I'll show my friends, but I don't have to. Guys go, "How many Pope and Youngs you shot?" I said, "No idea. Never entered one. Don't care." And it's not, I don't care if people do, but it's like some of my best animals I've killed are my smallest ones, because
yeah,
of the mess that was made, just because of the way it happened or who is with me. And
exactly.
yeah, and again, I've always been, like I said, for 17 years, 18 years, I haven't shot an animal off camera. I don't even know if I could hunt by myself anymore. And I don't
Dude,
want to, because I enjoy it so much with my friends and my family, that to go sit in a tree by myself, which I do and I self film, it's just not the same.
so, dude, get this. So I've hunted. My brother has been with me on nearly every single hunt. I got 2 minutes remaining on this live. We got to get off. It's going to shut down on us at an hour. Um, but I'm going on Nevada hunt, archery, elk hunt, and also drew an antelope tag, and it's the first hunt my brother's not going to be going with me, and to film, so I'm self-filming it, and I'm bummed because he's been at my side for 8 years, and we share every single experience together, and I everything that I have hanging in my basement, he's been with me on, and I'm
Yep.
like,
Everything around my room too. I've had my best friend Kurt Serrato since I've known him since we were probably 4 years old, or my brother Jason.
yeah,
Someone with me on every one of these hunts, and it's like we have so much. That's one thing. People go, "Do you guys have as much fun as it looks like?" I said, "Way more." I said, "We." That's one thing we have more funner than anybody out
dude,
there.
I always tell my brother, I wish I had a cameraman filming
Yes,
cameraman, showing the interaction between me and him, who's filming me.
I've said it. We have missed out our whole life because of that, because we can't afford one. But
Exactly.
it would
Exactly.
catch so many things, so many goofy things, so many everything, because it's the interaction between us which makes our show. That's why we've stayed on the air for 17, 18 years, is
Yep.
because friends just having fun.
John, we got 35 seconds remaining left on this live. Thanks so much for jumping on today, dude. I'm so glad we got to connect. We went down a path. I didn't think we were just going to talk hunting today, and we talked more about life, and I think that's way more important.
Well, anytime you want to talk, we can talk hunting or talk life. I enjoyed this a lot, and thank you very much.
We'll talk hunting on the next one. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate you jumping on. John, good luck this season. We'll
Good
talk
luck.
to
Thank you.
you. See ya.
Bye bye.